Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to another tier list video. So I'm doing things a bit differently. Usually I wait a couple days until I have a good grasp on the new meta before I make a tier list. However, I wanted to just pump this out as fast as possible so you guys have some idea of what my predictions are for this new tier list. And I'll probably do like an updated tier list later, but just to like get this out to you guys faster. So there's huge changes if you didn't read the developer letter or patch notes, and I'll cover them a bit as we go through the tier list. But biggest change is they're making Zacian and Mewtwo into EX licenses. So if you know like the card game TCG, they have EX cards that are just like way more powerful than usual cards, but it comes at a cost, and the cost is that apparently you won't be able to play them in ranked. So they said their changes rolling out like mid-January where you can't play EX licenses in ranked anymore. So there was a buff to Zacian. It wasn't in the patch notes, but they it might be a bug with like something they did, but they buffed Sacred Sword on Zacian. So Zacian is the best Pokemon in the game once again with that buff. And Mewtwo X, Mewtwo Y didn't get touched besides getting the EX license. So obviously these three are going to be the best Pokemon in the game. Now, I still think Umbreon is the best Pokemon in the game besides those. However, Dragapult is a really good contender now. Like Dragapult might be tied with Umbreon. Dragapult seems extremely strong after the huge buffs to Dragapult. It's the new Mewtwo Y. However, I personally am okay with this. Dragapult's been at the bottom of the meta since it came out. It deserves its time in the sunlight. It deserves its time to shine, and honestly it's not too broken. Like there are still a lot of Pokemon that can beat it. It feels like there's counterplay to it still. So maybe I'll bite my words, but I think Dragapult, it's good that it's top of the meta. It's definitely really strong, but not like super annoying like Mewtwo Y level, you know, like definitely still killable. It's its own unique Pokemon that's like not too broken, but it's at the top right now, which is good. I think it's healthy. Now Meowscarada is coming out tomorrow, I believe, and it is, from the gameplay, it looks really broken. Obviously we won't know until we see the numbers, but if the numbers are just decent, what I've seen of what its moves can do, I think this thing will be so strong. It could even be like the #1 Pokemon in the game. So we will definitely have to see with the numbers. So that's my prediction on where Meowscarada will be. Hopefully it doesn't age poorly. Hopefully it's not like the worst Pokemon ever released. But yeah, Intel received some pretty big hits to Liquidation in its early game. However, Snipe Shot is still the same, and Snipe Shot is still insanely broken. However, it's going to be more niche now because you can't play Snipe Shot into everything. So Inteleon's going to be a bit worse. I believe Liquidation's still playable. But yeah, definitely took a hit there. So I think it's better than Mew though, because Mew got some huge nerfs to Solar Beam, and apparently Solar Beam is just really bad now. As well to its Unite move being nerfed, it got hit pretty hard. But you can see I still have it above these other Pokemon just from how versatile it is. But before this patch, I did believe that Mew was better than Inteleon. Now I think Intel slipped ahead. It didn't get nerfed quite as much as Mew did. Now Hoopa also got some pretty big nerfs, and this might be Hoopa tends to like either be top of the meta or it just falls all the way to the bottom of the meta. So I'm not sure if it's still gonna be top of the meta or like all the way at the bottom. It's never mid tier. It's like one or the other. Like it's gonna be played a lot or not played at all. So I think the buffs weren't too bad, but I might bite my words. And we'll just have to see with time if you're still getting that value with the Hoopa pick, because Hoopa is different from other supports where it's not a pocket. It's like Blissey, Comfy, they extend their carries. Hoopa really needs to like prove itself on its own as a standalone kind of Pokemon, the value it brings by bringing your whole team across the map, with its like insanely good stats for a support. That's the value it brings. But would you rather have a Hoopa, or would you rather have a Comfy Zoroark, a Blissey Dragapult, right? That's the real question with this patch. Now Blastoise, there's a weird bug that also got it's been in the game before where the surf no longer, when you hit the wall, it doesn't stop, it like glides on the wall. Some people think it's a buff, some people think it's a nerf, but I think Blastoise is just in a really strong spot, like really strong spot. And I just think it's really good. It's been underrated for a while. I'm not sure where I put in my last tier list, but I think it's really strong. Probably the best top laner besides like Zacian and Mewtwo. Dodrio. Oh, I forgot to mention with Blastoise actually. The new held item, Resonant Guard, is so good on tanks because it scales with your max HP, the shield it gives to you and your allies. So that is another reason why I have Blastoise so high, is I think this new item is extremely good on Blastoise. And Dodrio is the same. I think the new item extremely strong on Dodrio, not the Resonant Guard, the other move charge one. It's really good with Drill Peck. Agility is bugged, so if you bug abuse agility tri attack, it's probably one of the best Pokemon in the game, like even higher. However, I try not to count bugs when I do these tier lists. So yes, Dodrio is probably the best Pokemon with the bugged agility right now, but try not to bug abuse, please. But yeah, that's also why I have Umbreon as number 1. Forgot to mention the Resonant Guard is really strong. Venusaur, not much changes this patch, but I think it's a really solid option, and it's moved up a bit because Mew as a sniper was nerfed. So your go-to option now, if you want like double sniper, which is really popular and competitive right now, is probably going to be Venusaur over Mew, honestly. You're probably going to want Venusaur Inteleon Snipe Shot now instead of Mew. And also just Petal Dance, Giga Drain, really good into Blastoise. Also like the Solar Beam build, really good into Dragapult to kill like one-shot Dragapults and stuff. So yeah, I think Venusaur will be in a really good spot this patch. Mimikyu got huge nerfs. Mimikyu only got to shine for like a month, which is sad because like it's still really strong though, so that's good. But only got to be top of the meta for like a month, and they hard nerfed it. They were like, hey, Mimikyu's not a legendary, like it's not allowed to be like this high up, you know. At least like Dragapult is one of like the pseudo legendaries where it has like the stats, I think, of like legendary Pokemon in the main games. Could be wrong, it could be a little off, but I know it's close. So Zoroark, didn't get many changes. The new item, I'm not sure how good it is on Zoroark compared to Dodrio. It's really good on Dodrio because you run around with Drill Peck, and when you Drill Peck people, it gives you insane burst, which is what you want on Dodrio. Zoroark's a little different, where you kind of want like more damage, so weakness is gonna be better, I think, but we'll have to see. I do think though that like the new item does it. So what the energy item does is it charges through auto attacks and movement. So that's really good for Dodrio because he moves faster than normal Pokemon. And after talking with MathCord, it's based off your distance. So it's just distance travel. So it's really good for Pokemon with dashes. So technically, it's good on Zoro. And I think it's not good on Feint Attack, but with Night Slash Zoro, I believe it might be really strong. Because you're moving with your dashes and auto attacking, so it builds up really fast. I haven't done much testing of it, but that's my theory. However, Night Slash is just not good. It's still going to be worse than Feint Attack, I'm pretty sure, which is why like Zoro doesn't change much. But I mean, that's a nice buff to the Night Slash moveset. It might move closer to being almost as good as Feint Attack, but I doubt it. Now Slowbro, I still have an S tier. I think Slowbro is really fallen off, guys. I will stand by it. Still being picked a lot in competitive, but I think people are trolling doing that, and we'll start to see it slowly fall off in usage more and more. Don't get me wrong, it's still good, but people are still prio picking it, which I'm not sure if that's the move in competitive these days. Buzzwole really strong, didn't get much changes. It's just that like Focus Band being nerfed and a Resonant Guard. Resonant Guard I think can replace Focus Band now on tank carries like Blastoise. And so I think because of that, it kind of nerfs how good Buzzwole is, because other Pokemon are kind of just getting indirect buffs. Buzzwole didn't get many changes. Focus Band being nerfed kind of hurts Buzzwole. You really want to run Focus Band on Buzzwole, I think. So that's why I think it's kind of fallen off a little bit. Still the best laner, but can it really punish a Blastoise lane now? We'll have to see with the new item. Now, Trevenant, again, like with the new item, I think it's going to be really strong, going to be really good. But Trevenant already has like you only have 3 item slots, so I'm not sure what you'd want to replace on Trevenant. Do you really want to replace Focus Band? You get like really good value from Focus Band. Maybe Buddy Barrier could be replaced, but that's still pretty good on Tree. It would probably have to be Buddy Barrier. So we'll see. The new item might not be as good on Trevenant. Now, Clefable is just with all these dash mons like Zoroark, Mimikyu, and just even Dragapult has like a dash with one of its moves, Zacian. I believe that Clefable is the second best support right now, because if Mimikyu is still strong, it hard counters Mimikyu. It really is really good into a lot of speedsters. It has a really good healing for sustain. Like, the enemy team has double poke. I think, especially with the nerfs to Mew, Clefable healing is really going to counter that double poke as well. So Clefable is just good into everything. Its only weakness is its early game, but if you're running like tanks, which I think it's a tank meta now, like Blastoise, Lapras, the early game doesn't matter much. So I think its early game is actually good when you pair it with the tank. So Lapras here as well, like I believe Lapras might really it could be really good with this new item. I really think Resident Guard's so good, which we'll get into later with the item tier list, but not much changes there. Blaziken, if you guys watch my past videos, you know I'm not a big fan of it. It also got nerfed, so I think people will be more willing to accept where I'm placing it in these tier lists. It's worse than Leafeon in my opinion. I can't see it giving more value than Leafeon, and Leafeon's value now is a lot more niche, but I still think it's way better than Blaziken for what it brings to the table for a team. Now, Comfey, again, in competitive, it's just really good to pair Comfey with like a hyper carry that can kind of steamroll the game early for you guys. So Comfey's always been really good at that. Glaceon got buffed recently, and I think we're not seeing as much Glaceon as we should because it's really good. I think it was hard for it to shine with Mimikyu being so broken, because Mimikyu does inherently kind of counter the Glaceon. But now that the meta's kind of settled into more like ranged again, and like you don't have Mimikyu just terrorizing every team, I think we'll see a lot more Glaceon. Now, A9 got Aurora Veil buffed. I'm not sure how good Aurora Veil will be. It just doesn't provide the value that you really need right now if you're picking A9. But the other moveset's still really good, so that's why it's up here in S tier. The other moveset, not really Aurora Veil. Blissey didn't get any changes, still really good. I have it at the bottom of S tier here because if Hoopa Hyperspace Hole isn't picked as much, Hoopas might start picking Trick. Blissey loses a lot of value, is really valuable as a Hoopa counter. But I could be wrong. If Safeguard Helping Hand is still viable and you run Safeguard Helping Hand with Dragapult, that might be good, but it did get kind of nerfed in the ground, so not sure how viable that is. Eldegoss is at the top of A tier, still really good. Again, I just think the other supports are better in competitive. I always get a lot of Eldegoss mains that love this Pokemon and come into my videos to complain. So don't get me wrong, in solo queue, Eldegoss is really, really good. It's just in competitive, I don't think it provides as much value. The thing that Eldegoss really struggles with is like the two metas right now really are Hyper Carry, Speedster, Dash In, you know, and Eldegoss isn't the best at that. Like Clefable Gravity, Blissey Unite, these are gonna be better pockets than like the Eldegoss healing and like the Eldegoss trying to keep them alive. And then the other meta, like the other really strong comp right now is double poke. You go Snipe Shot, Inteleon, Venusaur, Solar Beam, and Eldegoss again really suffers into that. Clefable's gonna be better, Blissey's gonna be better. They give way more healing. Eldegoss does not have that much healing. That is the issue. Its early game is really good, so sometimes you have to pick it because you need someone's early game that's really good, but that's it. That's really it. Eldegoss doesn't provide like anything late game. So Delphox didn't get changed much, still like really solid. I have Cram here. I was like struggling to decide whether I should put Cram above Delphox, but the Cram buffs were good, just not sure if we'll see it put above Delphox with the buffs, but I think the buffs are really good. I have it above Candle, so I have faith that Cram could be pretty decent. Like lifesteal increase is really good. for the dive moveset. The surf moveset got buffed too, so we'll see how good that is. Snorlax is one of those Pokemon like Tree, which doesn't really benefit that much from the new item Resonant Guard, because you're already gonna want to run Focus Fan, EXP Share, Buddy Barrier. So it's like, will you really get more value out of Resonant Guard than Buddy Barrier? Maybe actually, but it's tough. It's not like a clear upgrade. Like for Umbreon, it's a clear upgrade. You just go Resonant Guard every game. It's better than any other item you could have run in the 3rd slot. Now Candle got buffed, pretty decent, I think. It's still being like underrated. Like I don't think it's being used that much, because it's kind of it's a harder Pokemon than people think to get the hang of. Decidueye, really good with the new items, so I have it like really high up here. I have faith that Decidueye will be better, especially with them nerfing Mew. Now you want to look at more different like ranged options of snipers. Goodra, again, like the new item, we'll have to see if it's like good on Goodra if you want to run it. It could be really broken. If the new item is broken on Goodra, you could see Goodra shoot up to like S+ tier. It has that potential, but only time will tell. I have it rated still pretty decently, but it's more of a careful rating. Not sure how good it will be. Now, Pikachu didn't get many changes. Just it's still a solid pick. It's A tier. Same with Crustle. As a defender, like with Wall, I think Crustle really benefits from the new item. The 3rd item slot, you weren't really sure what to run before. Now you can run the new item. I think it's really good. You run like Resonant Guard, Focus Fan, EXP Share, and you go ham with your walls. I actually think like Crustle's one that benefits from it. So you could also see Crustle like shoot up here, but I have it rated pretty high. A careful rating for now. Espeon didn't get many changes. You don't really want to run the new items on it, so it's just decent overall. Lucario E-Speed might be pretty good with the new item. I haven't tested it much, but on paper it's really good. However, I just don't think E-Speed is viable. So with Power Up Punch, you don't really want to run the new item on Power Up Punch, so it's a little different, but it's still pretty decent. Now Mime got a huge buff. Most people might not think of it as huge, but I think it's a huge Mime buff, because you watch my last tier list, I had Mime all the way at the bottom, like one of the worst Pokemon in the game. Now it's all the way at the top of B tier, so I think the buff really beneficial. Will it be better than other defenders? No. It really needs like a stat increase. But the new item Resonant Guard is also really good on it. I think Mime is actually playable now in competitive. With the new item, with the buffs, it's actually playable. Dragonite, I had Dragonite this high up because Asia rates it so highly. I think the winners of Asia, or not even the winners, but most teams were running Dragonite like every game, which is insane to me. I mean, Dragonite takeover of the meta. Its stats are good enough. I just feel like people haven't been playing it as much as they should. So I think Dragonite's pretty decent as a jungle pick. It has a really good early game, and it provides that support late game of a really good secure, of like fast unite moves for every fight in the skirmishes. So yeah, Dragonite is good. Do not underrate it. Outrage has been really good for a while, but most of the Dragonites were running Hyper Beam. Now Gardevoir, I'm not the biggest fan of. I have it. Some people might say this is lower than it deserves, but I just think it doesn't have a place in the meta. It's a good tank killer, but Delphox is just a better tank killer, and I think like Dragapult as an ADC is not going to struggle into tank, so there's not really any reason to pick Gardevoir in this meta. Scyther got like a few changes, which is going to make it worse at the start, because Scyther mains are going to have to relearn all the combos. They kind of changed like the animation cancel combos that you can do, so a bit unfortunate for Scyther mains, but ultimately no changes. It's always been like kind of around this B tier mark, just like really like skill intensive and like hard to play, and not really worth the effort to learn. Now Wiggly, I actually have Wiggly higher up here because the new item is going to be really good on it, but also because yeah, it's just annoying, and with this new item I think it's a lot more playable in the meta, especially with like the special defense reduction of Scene. I think it pairs really well with a lot of the meta Pokemon right now, and it's just like a good solid option. Now Charizard got like the buff at level 7. it's okay. You see, I have it above Garchomp, which is interesting because Garchomp hasn't really gotten changed. I think it actually helped Charizard a lot. I used to have it rated a lot lower. Same with like Greninja, Serena with these buffs. I actually think it helped them a lot. They're still bottom of B tier, but they're a lot more playable now than they were before. Now C tier, the most interesting change you'll see here really is Talonflame at the top of C tier. That's just because of the buffs Talonflame got. I think it's a lot more playable now, both movesets. And the new item I think is going to be pretty good with the burst on fly. I have Red Urshifu at the bottom of C tier. I'm not a fan of Red Urshifu. Some people might say this is too low. It might be a little too low. Red Urshifu is actually playable in certain comps. You can go like Slowbro, Mimikyu, Red Urshifu now, and you have like 3 Unite moves that like pin someone down. It's really annoying. But I think as teams catch on, they'll start running Shedinja, they'll start running Full Heal, and I really think you can counter these comps by running those items once teams realize that. Teams don't seem to realize that right now. And now Duraludon at the top of F tier. We have Blue Urshifu. I really think Blue Urshifu is really shit now. If you saw my past tier list, I was rating it pretty lowly already, and now I just think it's probably unplayable. Its main like way you play the game is just unplayable. I think you won't see it picked in competitive at all now. And you can see I have Zera and Tyranitar rated as the worst Pokemon in the game. I mean, guys, I've played these Pokemon, okay? I've tried to play them, and you can win ladder games. You can even carry ladder games, but their stats feel awful. How well you have to play versus the enemy team when they're like just better Pokemon is insane. I just think it's not worth. But yeah, that's the Pokemon tier list. Let's move on to the item tier list. So new items came out, the 2 new items, and you can see here I've been talking of Resident Guard. I think it's the second best item in the game. Now, my last held item tier list, so the progression of my item tier list have been like this. I put EXP share as like number 1 item, and I changed my mind. I put it like lower because I was like, hey, you can't run EXP share on every Pokemon, right? It's only defenders and supports. So it should be fair that the best item is one that you want to run on all the Pokemon. And you know, that mindset wasn't necessarily bad, but I've kind of evolved my mindset where like, if an item is necessary, if you have to run it, then that's probably the best item. In EXP share, you not only need to run it in competitive, you need to run 2 of them. And there's been a huge Twitter debate on this recently, but you really do need to run 2 EXP shares. And I think because of that, and because of the value it provides your team, it's probably the best Pokemon, that it warrants at least 2 Pokemon running it on each team. Otherwise your whole team is screwed. So I do really think it's the best item in competitive. Now Resident Guard is a close first. I think this item feels insanely broken. So what it does is it scales off your max HP, and it gives a shield to you and your ally every 10 seconds when you hit someone. Every 10 seconds, and it's like a pretty sizable shield. It's nothing to scoff at. Every 10 seconds. That is insane to me. I think it could replace Focus Band on a lot of Pokemon. And I'm playing a tournament this Saturday, and I'm gonna run it on like all of my builds. So we'll see how it does. But I'm a big fan of this item. It's a lot of fun to play with, and it just feels insanely broken. Maybe I won't be a fan of it once like every single person is running it. But at this stage, at least when no one's running it, I'm telling you, get ahead of the curve. I think this item's insanely broken, and if you run it, it's gonna be like free wins on defenders. Now Slick Spoon got nerfed, but it's still like really good, the best damage item in the game. Attack weight's a close second. Just the issue with the attack weight is you have to stack it to scale, but like a 6 attack weight is the best item in the game when you have 6 stacks. Now Focus Band got nerfed, but just the value it provides I think is really good still. So still must run on certain Pokemon, especially because Resident Guard will replace Focus Band, but not on squishy Pokemon. I think on like speedsters and stuff, you're still gonna need to run Focus Band, or you can run the new item if you just go no Focus Band YOLO. Buddy Barrier is still good, didn't get many changes. So the rest of this tier is pretty straightforward. I'm gonna skip to the new item, the energy charge item, and this item is just, I'm a big fan of it too. Some people are saying the damage isn't there. It's not about the damage consistently. There's Pokemon like Leafeon, Dodrio, Talonflame that don't rely on consistent damage. Instead, they rely on burst damage. And that's where this item really shines. Is just like going in, bursting, running out, and charging it back up again and getting that extra damage. It's really high value for certain Pokemon in the game. And I think people are underrating that. So yeah, the next thing to know is Curse Incense. The reason I have Curse Incense so much higher than Curse Bangle is because a lot of special attackers can afford to run Curse Incense because they don't have a better third item slot. Like, they're either going to run Wise Glasses or Curse Incense. And would you rather have a little more damage with Wise Glasses or just run Curse Incense and reduce all their healing? Most of the time, you're going to want to run Curse Incense. So, Curse Bangle is different because, I mean, melee Pokemon have so many options. You now have this new energy item. You have Attack Weight, Razor Claw, Scope Lens, Muscle Band, Rapid Fire Scarf. There's too many items to be able to run Curse Bangle because there's always going to be a really good melee item you need to run, and there's going to be like 3 of them just because like there's so many good ones with what they do. So you can see I have a lot of these melee items, even like Floatstone, in B tier just because like there's so many of them. They're all good, and like obviously the better items like Muscle Band, Attack Weight are going to be higher, but otherwise like pick and choose, like depending on the Pokemon, one's going to be better than the other. So they're all really good. Yeah, stacking is still good, like special attacks to Cookie, pretty good. The reason I have Scarf so low is I feel like a lot of math cord people will be mad at me, or like people who keep up with math, because if you follow the math, Scarf is really, really good. A lot of the people who do the math consider it the best item in the game, or like not the best item, but like one of the best items to run in the game on a lot of Pokemon. Now the issue I have is that they're acting like you can auto attack a lot. The issue is like a lot of times how it works out is you get your Scarf proc where you can auto attack faster, and then during that time you can't auto attack faster. It doesn't work out that way in game. It's not like you can auto attack all the time. And now with like the addition of the new energy item, I just think there's so many options that you're gonna barely see Scarf run by really good players. Yeah, I just don't think you're getting the value out of it that a lot of people think you will. Now the other item I need to cover, or the 2 other items I should cover, are Shell Bell and Rescue Hood, because there are like die-hard defenders of these items. Trust me when I say it, that like so many people have run the numbers, and no matter what your own calculations are, it's wrong. You overlooked some variable, you didn't do it right. Rescue Hood is not good. Shell Bell is not good. The concept of them are really cool. The concepts of them are cool, but the numbers are not there. It's the same with Rocky Helmet. Like, the concept of Rocky Helmet is really cool. The numbers aren't there to support it. They're just better items. Rescue Hood can be played on like one Pokemon where it's actually good, better than other items, like one Pokemon, or maybe 2. You can run it on like Clefable and Comfey. That's it. Shell Bell can be like, I don't even know a Pokemon that would want to run it over another item, but it can be okay on maybe a couple Pokemon, but that's it. No other Pokemon. There's like 1 or 2 Pokemon. Assault Vest, the reason I have it in C tier is it's actually not as bad as people think. The shield it gives you is really big on defenders. Obviously there's better defender items, but on the Pokemon, the items in F tier, you just never want to run. Ever. Never, ever run them. Never. Okay, maybe Drain Crown you can run in like quick battles or some random mode, but in competitive, never run them. Alright, next is gonna be the battle items tier list, because these did get changed and I haven't made an updated tier list on them. So Eject Button got nerfed, but I still think it's the best item in the game. You'll see a lot of competitive teams will run like 5 eject buttons. It's just that good at helping you escape. Flash is always a really valuable tool for the players who really know how to use it well. Now Full Heal got nerfed, I believe. I think it got nerfed, but again, it's just like thinking about a necessary item. It's like it really is necessary on speedsters, and because of that, because it's necessary, you have to run it, especially in a certain Pokemon. That's why it's the second best item in the game. Now X Speed, really good. It's a really good early game item, but late game it doesn't give you much value. I'm a big fan of X Speed though. I would run X Speed on like every Pokemon, honestly, if it wasn't necessary to run other items. Now Shedinjadal, really good against certain Pokemon, so that's why it's the 4th best item up here. Potion is just really good in general. It gives really good stats. It's just for what it does is not very useful and competitive, but it gives you really good stats, like 25% of your health being healed every like 25 seconds is really good, especially on Pokemon that don't have sustain like Mamoswine and other Pokemon. Now, Slow Smoke got buffed. I actually think it's pretty decent, so I have it above X attack here, but these could really be interchangeable. It could be either or. Goal Getter, I think it got buffed, I forget, but it's still like kind of shit. Wouldn't run it. And then Fluffy Tail is just a never run Fluffy Tail. It's dog shit. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.